Video games and hidden secrets go together like fish and chips, ant and deck, or dual skill and mother loving. Almost every game in existence has some form of Easter egg to find or mystery to uncover. And most of the time, these secrets are easily discoverable while traversing through the world on your average playthrough. And on top of all this secret stuff games lay out for players to interact with, some actually contain areas that developers never intended for you to stumble across at all. Whether it's an abandoned level, a testing room, or a raunchy hot tub scene they've tried to bury under code, it is possible to find all sorts of weird and wonderful sights when you head off the beaten track and start clipping through walls, entering cheat codes, and generally trying to do the things that the game does not want you to do. So with that in mind, I am the unlockable Ash from WhatCulture Gaming, and these are 10 secret video game areas you weren't meant to find. 10. The Dam in the Shadow of the Colossus. Shadow of the Colossus is one of the most beautiful games of all time, with its ancient, sprawling landscape proving a true feast for the eyes. It's an enigmatic world to explore that also contains its fair share of secrets, as evidenced by the discovery of an enormous dam cut off from the rest of the map and only accessible by hacking. The dam was first uncovered by user Pickle in 2009, with other players jumping on the bandwagon and documenting their findings at the dam for themselves. It's a massive area that can be walked around and, curiously, appears to be fully textured and finished, seemingly hinted that it was removed from the main path of the game at a very late stage. Not much is known about the dam or how it would connect to the rest of the game, but this lack of answers only adds to the intriguing appeal of this secret area, as well as the mysterious aura of the game as a whole. 9. BIOSHOCK Infinite's Axed Mountain Observatory. The list of cut content and unused concepts for 2013's BIOSHOCK Infinite is, well, infinite, and includes axed levels, buildings, and even some abandoned art styles. A lot of this content was never actually built within the game, and as such, it only exists online in the form of concept art or early screenshots. But some areas were constructed and added into the mix, only to be left out of the playable path of the final product, just like the Mountain Observatory was. This observatory can still be accessed by players who wish to find it, however. Glitching through the boundaries in the Sea of Doors will lead you to a rough version of this area, complete with snowy cliffs, a stone staircase, and a wooden bridge connecting two peaks. There isn't much else to do here other than look around a simplistic and unfinished series of mountains with an empty observatory smacked in the middle. Still, it is a cool little secret for fans who wish to take an even deeper dive into the amazing world that Infinite created. 8. Sonic Adventure 2's Test Level. A space similar to the ones found in Skyrim and Fallout 4, 3D platformer Sonic Adventure 2 features a colourful testing room that allows players to run around, jump and spin dash without any of the constraints of a normal level. Admittedly, there is not much to do once you actually locate this hidden room, discoverable by either hacking in with a cheat code or via a finicky gameplay section involving spin dashing and manipulating checkpoints. But still, it is fun to zoom around as Sonic in an open space for a couple of minutes, and you can even reach it with other characters too, like Shadow. This room exists so the developers can test out the characters' moves and abilities, since it almost looks like an obstacle course. Ramps, stairs, and small doorways are dotted about the place, so it actually makes for a good practice arena to use before you go for high scores in the main game. Strangely, you can still reach this room in the game's ports, including those on GameCube and PS3. Clearly, nobody at Sega was bothered that players had found it. 7. Fallout 4 and SKYRIM'S developers' rooms. Bethesda games are known for being quite glitchy, but before Fallout 76, the company never really received that much criticism for it. Instead, it is considered part of the charm. Who doesn't love dragons flying backwards? Another things games like Fallout 4 and Skyrim are known for is the fact they contain secret developer rooms. Areas where the game makers can test out every single weapon, item, and anything else the game has to offer, in a safe space. These rooms contain literally all of each game's weapons, books, holotapes, consumables, armor, spells, power armor, bobbleheads, arrows, keys, and more, allowing players to use anything they want without having to obtain it in the regular way. Both Fallout 4 and Skyrim's developer rooms can be accessed by entering the command COCQASMOKE, which spells Coquasmoke, apparently. Hilariously, the Skyrim room allows you to spawn in any of the game's creatures in a large cage, giving you some easy targets to shoot at. Or you can just watch them fight each other. Whatever floats your boat. 6. The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past's Chris Houlihan Room. Contests that allow the winner to snag a cameo in a video game are nothing new, with plenty of big games getting their fans in on the action over the years. But one of the earliest examples revolves around The Legend of Zelda: A Link in the Past, which is notable for the fact that the fan cameo in question was programmed in such a way that it was never intended to be discovered via normal gameplay. The winner of the contest was an individual named Chris Houlihan, but nobody was able to track down Chris's name because the game he would be appearing in wasn't actually revealed at the time. Plus, as I mentioned, the room isn't accessible through normal gameplay, and was instead meant as a crash prevention measure, making it even more elusive. Players who did stumble across Chris's room were greeted with a message that reads, "My name is Chris Houlihan. This is my top secret room. Keep it between us, okay?" Along with 45 blue rupees scattered across the floor. Thanks, Chris. In the decades since, other methods of reaching this place have been discovered, but curiously, any mention of Chris has been removed from all of the game's ports. What did you do, Chris? 5. The unused Jungle Book world in Kingdom Hearts: Birth by Sleep. Much like BIOSHOCK Infinite, the Kingdom Hearts series has a ton of unused content to its name. A playable area centered around the famous Disney castle was removed from the first game in the series, and throughout its history, a lot of characters, alternate models, songs, summons, and levels have been chopped from the final products. But one of the most substantial bits of axed content, and one that can still be accessed to this day, is the scrapped Jungle Book world from Kingdom Hearts: Birth by Sleep. Originally intended to be fully playable, the world was based on Disney's The Jungle Book, and would have allowed players to explore famous locations from the movie, such as King Louis's throne room. The area is semi-finished. There are trees, flowers, vines, and stones, all textured to an acceptable quality. But it is also completely empty, and essentially remains as a shell environment. It didn't really come close to appearing in the final build, and was likely something that was removed early on, but it's still pretty cool though. 4. Fallout 76's Room of Unreleased Content. From the bugginess of the game itself, to the falsely advertised bags in the collector's edition, to that time when Bethesda somehow leaked its customers' personal information, the release of Fallout 76 was a comedy of errors. And the bad publicity only continued when players discovered a secret room containing unreleased content. A space similar to the developer testing rooms in Skyrim and Fallout 4, Fallout 76's hidden area differed from the former two examples in that some of the items found within it hadn't actually been released to the public yet, including human NPCs, which were recently unveiled at Bethesda's E3 conference. By accessing this supposedly inaccessible secret room, players were able to snag unreleased power armor paints like Winterized, Atom Cats, and Military, as well as being able to obtain every single item in the game, even high-tier stuff. And since Fallout 76 is an online experience, this was obviously a problem. Bethesda eventually started banning players who entered the room, but the ban hammer could be avoided by retrieving the high-level items with a dummy account and transferring them to your main account. It was all just a bit of a mess, as everything was with that game. And is. 3. The abandoned rooms at Final Fantasy VII's Honeybee Inn. The Honeybee Inn is a brothel where men can go to be entertained by women wearing bee costumes. As you do. The establishment can be visited during a quest in Final Fantasy VII, which sees Cloud enact his cross-dressing plan in order to gain access to Don Corneo's mansion. Anyway, the player can only visit 2 rooms whilst navigating through the inn, and can peek through the keyholes of another 2, but other than that, the building doesn't really afford many exploration opportunities. That is, unless you're playing the original Japanese version of the game, which contains a few unused areas linked directly to the Honeybee Inn, including a sizable main lobby. Originally, the inn was supposed to have been much bigger and would have featured multiple floors, a lobby, and a waiting area. The lobby itself seems quite polished, and even contains a lot of different dialogue boxes spoken by NPCs. Ooh. 2. The Sexy Hot Tub in Sin. In 1998's Activision-published Sin, there is a moment when the player can access a CCTV feed of villain Alexis Sinclair having some steamy alone time in a hot tub. The sound effects heard on this feed are quite explicit, to say the least. Lots of ooh, and rub-a-dub-dub noises can be heard, but since the camera is positioned behind Alexis, you can't get a proper good view of what she's up to. And rightly so, you perverts. But of course, Grot finds a way, and players have discovered you can glitch through the walls of the level. Those who did so could actually visit this hot tub room themselves, where you can watch a fully rendered Alexis complete with plenty of breast fondling and a smattering of crotch rubbing. Hey, gotta keep the old clam all cleaned up, am I right, ladies? Since this area is meant to be off limits, Alexis doesn't react to the player in any way, even if you unload a clip of bullets into her unfathomably oversized melons. 1. Glitching past the boundaries in the original Saints Row demo. Remember when it was the norm for games to have publicly available demos? Those demo discs you can get in magazines are a relic of the past now. Back in the day, the original Saints Row received a demo of its own, allowing players to explore a cordoned-off section of the map, as well as take part in a select handful of missions. It was a decent enough taster, but players who wanted to explore even further could actually break past the demo's boundaries and run around a much larger portion of the game's map. Amusingly, and in wacky Saints Row fashion, players could glitch past those borders by standing in front of an NPC's car and kicking it, forcing it to accelerate forwards and ram your character into the off-limits parts of the map. It's also possible to jump through the boundary whilst in the middle of the exiting a car animation. Whilst outside the boundaries, and bearing in mind that this area wasn't finished off by the developers, players can walk through walls, fall through the map, watch NPCs fall through the map, and even jump on top of a train as it takes you round the whole map. Not too shabby for a free demo. And that's our list. What other impossible gaming secrets belong on this list? I've been Ash, and this has been WhatCulture Gaming. As always, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and lay out the black candles at the stroke of midnight to praise the WhatCulture overlords. Thanks for watching.